On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome Her Excellency Zuzana Caputova, President of the Slovak Republic, and to invite her to address the Assembly.
Thank you. Dear President of the General Assembly, dear Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. At this Assembly and other global forums, we hear many words spoken about the challenges we face. From the growing intensity of armed conflicts to devastating effects of climate changes. We discuss the task of providing for a growing global population with limited resources and exploited ecosystems. We debate the opportunities of emerging technologies that can transform our lives, but they can also trigger the destruction of our democratic way of life. These challenges have one common denominator. They are human-made, and it falls to us to deliver human-made solutions. The time for talking, discussions, and promises is over. This General Assembly must start with ultimate purpose for which the UN was founded: restoration of peace. Last year, we recorded more conflict-related deaths in the world than in any year since 1994. Russia's illegal, full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Slovakia's direct neighbor, has greatly contributed to this rise. For more than 570 days, Russia's forces have been killing innocent Ukrainian civilians, kidnapping children, and destroying towns and cities. They bomb infrastructure and ports that export Ukrainians' grain to those who need it in Bangladesh or Egypt. This is why Moscow must let the grain leave Ukrainian ports. Yes, we need a new agenda for peace, as the Secretary General rightly said. But first and foremost, we need action for peace from Russia as a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Excellencies, the Climate Ambition Summit starts today. But when it comes to our planet, time for action is running out. Our cities are becoming warmer, our oceans more acidic, and our land more arid. This is a result of human-caused climate change. This summer gave us another preview of what we can expect if we sit on our hands. Scientific report after scientific report makes the same conclusion. We aren't doing enough. The current pace of reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and of our mitigation measures won't be prevent the 1.5 degrees rise in global temperature by 2100. Globally, our emissions still exceed our Paris Agreement. We can still prevent the worst-case scenarios. Global emissions must peak before 2030. That is 7 years from now. This is our responsibility, not of the governments that come after us. To see results 7 years from now, we must all act today. Let's turn this ambition into our joint and global commitment. Feasible, effective, and low-cost options for mitigation and adaptation are already available. They can speed up our green transition. In Slovakia, we are doing our share. 85% of our electricity is already produced with zero emissions. In the next 7 years, we will use 5% of our GDP to decarbonize our economy and increase the use of renewables. In 2030, our emissions will be 55% lower than in 1990. Europe may be warming twice as fast as any other continent, but Africa, while responsible for less than 4% of global emissions, is the most vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Working together as partners, we can solve this challenge. The already existing green technologies must be available to everyone. Slovakia will continue to meet its obligations under the Global Climate Finance Commitment. Finally, a remark on climate change is simple. We need to wake up. We are not battling an external threat. This is not a meteor hitting for Earth. This is an existential crisis that we created and we alone must solve. Excellencies, this crisis hit hardest those who are least responsible for their creation: vulnerable population, women and children, and the poorest. No peace and prosperity can be achieved if they are excluded. We have been seeing for decades that women's rights are human rights. It's time to return these words into action. Our collective wealth allows us to provide dignified conditions for everyone on this planet. But today, halfway to 2030, only 12% of the Sustainable Development Goals are on track. These targets are not advisory guidelines. They are the benchmark for creating a world built on fairness, equity, and stability. 75 years ago, we adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Human dignity, freedom, and justice must be universally protected. This is even more importantly today, when new technologies promise to unlock huge potential in areas such as public health, connectivity, or addressing climate change. But technological progress is sometimes moving faster than the evolution of human minds and emotions. The rapid rise of social media platforms and the related flood of disinformation and hate speech prove this. Platforms have removed barriers across the globe, linking people like never before. But they have also destroyed barriers that protected the rights and integrity of others. Any technology must be used with one goal in mind, that of dignity and rights of every individual. If not addressed, social media platforms, artificial intelligence, and other emerging technologies can act like steroids for the current crisis. That is why we cannot postpone their democratic regulation. Facts and science are essential to overcoming our global challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic illustrated this well. Disinformation undermined our efforts to build consensus and a common vision. If humankind continues to build alternative truth and distrust each other, we will never be able to take the actions needed to address these universal challenges. In my final words to you, let me leave you with a message of hope. When I meet Slovakia's young people, I am left with great optimism for the future. Data shows that for them, equality is the most important societal value. We should listen to our children and work on achieving a vision of humankind where equality is a rule, not the exception, where development can be sustainable and climate resilient, where we can live in peace. They are looking to us for actions. The cost of our joint failure is not an abstraction. It will count in concrete deaths, displacement, injustices, and the loss of species and ecosystems. We politicians are often asked about our legacy. Should this be our legacy? For me, the choice is clear. Our response should be clear as well. Thank you.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Slovak Republic for the statement just made, and I request protocol to escort Her Excellency. The